In the eerie silence of the night when the world sleeps, there are those who brave the shadows to keep things running. Today I'm going to share with you 3 chilling true stories from the graveyard shift that will make you rethink your nightly routine. These tales come from the depths of the dark and reveal the horrors that linger in the corners of abandoned buildings, echoing hallways and flickering lights. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear might just keep you awake long after your shift ends. From ghostly apparitions to inexplicable phenomena, these workers encountered the kind of terror that lingers in the mind and haunts the soul. As Halloween approaches, the line between reality and the supernatural blurs, and you'll discover that not all monsters wear masks. So grab your flashlight and settle in, because once these stories find their way into your thoughts, you may never look at your job or the night quite the same way again. The fluorescent lights flickered ominously in the dimly lit convenience store where I worked the graveyard shift. I could hear the distant hum of traffic outside, mingled with the unsettling silence of the store. It was Halloween week, a time when the veil between worlds felt thinner, and the decorations in the store only heightened that eerie sense. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, plastic spiders dangled precariously above the candy aisle, and the sound of a jack-o'-lantern's laughter echoed in my mind, a ghostly reminder of what once was. As I stood behind the register, the clock ticked slowly, each passing minute a reminder of my impending solitude. I had been working here for over a year, but the stillness of the night always seemed to gnaw at my sanity. Tonight, however, felt different. An unsettling chill traced my spine as I glanced toward the entrance. The bell above the door chimed, and I looked up, expecting a customer, but found only the empty street bathed in the cold glow of streetlights. I turned my gaze back to the register, feeling the weight of unseen eyes on me. Perhaps it was just my imagination running wild, fueled by the horror movies I had binged in preparation for the season. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The aisles loomed like shadows, and the products seemed to watch me with eerie anticipation. I sighed deeply, trying to dismiss the unsettling sense of paranoia creeping into my mind. About an hour into my shift, I heard a noise, soft at first, like the faint rustle of plastic. It came from the candy aisle. My heart raced as I took a deep breath, convincing myself it was just a rodent or maybe a stray cat that had wandered in. However, I was compelled to investigate. Leaving my post, I approached the aisle cautiously, the fluorescent lights buzzing above me like a swarm of angry bees. As I rounded the corner, my eyes widened in horror. There, amidst the colorful wrappers and sugary delights, stood a figure. It was a child, or at least it appeared to be. A little girl dressed in a tattered white dress, dirt smudged across her pale face. Her eyes were wide and unblinking, fixed on a display of candy. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. She turned slowly, her head tilting at an unnatural angle, a smile breaking across her face that chilled me to my core. "Trick or treat," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. The store felt colder, the air thick with something dark and suffocating. I forced myself to speak, my voice trembling. "Hey there, you shouldn't be here alone. Where are your parents?" She did not respond, only continued to smile, an unsettling grin stretching further than seemed possible. I took a step back, heart pounding in my chest. "Do you want some candy?" "We have plenty," I offered, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy. As I reached for a candy bar, I dared to look back at her, but she was gone. My heart sank, dread pooling in my stomach. I turned in a panic, scanning the aisle, but there was no sign of her anywhere, just the empty shelves, now mocking me with their silence. I was alone, or so I thought. Suddenly the lights flickered violently, plunging the store into darkness before returning, and in that brief moment, I felt a presence behind me, something cold and intangible. I turned around slowly, my breath catching in my throat. There she was again, now standing at the entrance, her form shifting and wavering as if caught between two worlds. "Trick or treat," she repeated, her voice echoing like a haunting melody. I stumbled back, my mind racing as I grasped for logic. Was this a sick prank? But who would go to such lengths? The girl stepped forward, and I could see her eyes, hollow and dark, as if all light had been extinguished. I darted back to the register, frantically searching for my phone, but it lay just out of reach. The store felt alive, the shelves closing in on me as I felt a chilling breeze sweep through, extinguishing the warmth of my body. "Leave me alone!" I shouted, desperation lacing my voice as panic surged through me. My eyes darted to the door, an exit that felt forever out of reach. But she was there, blocking the way. "Trick or treat," she sang, and the melody twisted in my ears like a taunt. I was frozen, caught in a web of fear and confusion. The lights flickered again, and I felt the weight of the darkness closing in. With a surge of adrenaline, I grabbed the heavy flashlight from under the counter and shone it toward her. The beam cut through the shadows, illuminating her figure. The girl screamed, a sound that shattered the silence like glass, and in that moment, I saw her true form, a grotesque mockery of a child, with hollow eyes and a mouth stretched too wide, filled with jagged teeth. I turned and ran towards the back of the store, my heart racing as I fumbled with the door leading to the stockroom. I could hear her footsteps echoing behind me, quick and relentless. I burst into the stockroom, slamming the door shut and leaning against it, desperate for a moment of reprieve. Breathing heavily, I scanned the room, searching for something, anything, that could help me. But the stockroom was filled with dust and forgotten items, a tomb of old memories. I could hear scratching at the door, a constant reminder that she was still out there, waiting. "Help!" I shouted, my voice hoarse from fear, but the emptiness around me swallowed my cries. I felt more trapped than ever, a dark realization creeping into my mind. This was no ordinary haunting. There was something sinister at play. Then, as if in response to my thoughts, the lights in the stockroom flickered and buzzed. The shelves began to rattle, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. I turned back to the door, my heart in my throat. The girl's voice whispered through the cracks, "Trick or treat, forever." In that moment, I realized what she meant. There was no escape from this horror. I was destined to be a part of it, just like her, trapped in a never-ending cycle of fear. The shadows began to close in, and I felt the air grow colder still. As her laughter reverberated through the walls, I understood. In this store, on this cursed Halloween night, the true horror had only just begun. I never thought a simple night shift could lead me down the path of pure terror. But as I stood alone in the dimly lit convenience store, the fluorescent lights flickered ominously above me, casting a strange glow on the rows of snacks and drinks. It was Halloween season, and the store was eerily quiet, save for the occasional rustle of leaves outside. I could feel the chill in the air, a stark contrast to the monotonous warmth of the fluorescent lights. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, amplifying the silence, and the shadows danced around me as the wind howled outside. "Just a few more hours," I muttered to myself, trying to shake off the growing unease that settled in the pit of my stomach. I had taken this night shift to save up for a new car, but the isolation was starting to gnaw at my nerves. The first 2 hours passed without incident. I restocked the shelves and wiped down the counters, my thoughts drifting to the upcoming Halloween festivities, parties, costumes, and the thrill of tricks and treats. Just as I settled into a rhythm, the front door swung open with a loud ding. A man stepped inside, his clothes tattered and his face hidden beneath a hood. He looked like he hadn't seen the sun in days. "Can I help you?" I asked, forcing a smile. He didn't respond, just glanced around as if assessing the place. I could see his eyes flickering with something I couldn't quite identify. Was it panic, or was it something darker? I just need something," he finally stammered, his voice low. I nodded and gestured towards the snack aisle, but he remained frozen, staring at the ground. A wave of unease washed over me. "Take your time," I said slowly, backing away towards the register. Moments later, he darted toward the door, his hood bouncing with each hurried step. I blinked, confused, and before I could call out, he disappeared into the night. "Weird," I murmured, a chill running down my spine. As I turned back to the register, I noticed the flickering lights had intensified, casting strange shadows across the store. I felt like I was being watched. The sudden ringing of the phone startled me. It was the store manager checking in to see how things were going. I forced a laugh, pushing aside my growing anxiety. "Everything's fine. Just a quiet night," I reassured him. But as I hung up, an unsettling feeling crept over me. The air felt thick, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally. I felt compelled to check the security monitors. As I switched the feed to the outside camera, my heart sank. There, just beyond the glass, was the man again. But now he was staring directly at me, his face illuminated by the flickering lights of passing cars. He was no longer moving. He just stood there, watching. I swallowed hard, my breath quickening. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. "Hey, "You okay in there?" A voice called out, breaking my trance. It was a delivery driver, standing at the door, hands on his hips. Relieved, I opened the door slightly. "That guy just left, right?" I asked, trying to sound casual. The driver frowned, shaking his head. "No one's out here, man. I didn't see anyone." I blinked, confusion washing over me. "But he was just here. He just left," I insisted. But the driver only shrugged, looking as perplexed as I felt. "Listen, I've got deliveries to make. Just keep your head on straight, all right?" As he walked away, I felt the weight of the night pressing down on me. I went back to the register, trying to focus on the mundane task of checking stock, but the feeling of dread only intensified. I could have sworn I heard whispers. They were soft at first, almost imperceptible, but they grew louder, swirling around me like a dark cloud. I glanced around the store, half expecting to see someone lurking in the aisles. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling slightly. No response, just the oppressive silence and the unsettling flicker of the lights. Time dragged on. I tried to distract myself by scrolling through my phone, but the whispers continued, a haunting melody just beyond comprehension. Then I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. My heart raced as I turned to see the man again, standing at the end of the aisle, his face obscured by shadow. "Why are you here?" I shouted, my voice echoing in the hollow store. He didn't respond, only stepped closer, his movements unnaturally smooth and deliberate, like a marionette on strings. Each step sent a jolt of terror through me. "Get away from me!" I yelled, backing away until I hit the wall. The sound of my voice seemed to disturb him. His head tilted, and a chilling smile spread across his face, revealing teeth too sharp and too many. Panic surged within me. I grabbed the nearest object, a can of soda, and hurled it at him, watching as it passed cleanly through his form like mist. He didn't flinch. He just kept advancing. Just when I thought I was cornered, he stopped, his expression shifting to one of intense focus. I felt a sudden pressure in my chest, as if the very air around me thickened. The whispers crescendoed, filling my mind with screams of despair. I turned to flee, making a beeline for the back door, heart pounding in my ears. As I burst outside into the cool night air, I felt momentarily free from the suffocating dread. But when I looked back, the store stood silent and still, as if nothing had ever happened, except for the shadows that seemed to writhe against the moonlight. I stumbled away, not daring to look back. The night felt alive with unseen horrors, and I knew I would never return to that cursed convenience store. The man, whatever he was, had been waiting for me, and his whispers would haunt me long after I stepped into the light. The night was heavy with an unsettling stillness as I stepped into the dimly lit convenience store, my shift beginning at 11 p.m. and lingering until dawn. I was no stranger to the haunting hours, but tonight felt different. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting long shadows that danced like specters across the linoleum floor. I remembered the tales whispered among my co-workers, stories of strange happenings at this hour. It was said that on nights leading up to Halloween, the veil between worlds thinned, allowing something sinister to seep through. Taking a deep breath, I rang up the few customers that trickled in. An elderly man, eyes clouded and restless, mumbled incoherently about the thing in the woods. I chuckled nervously, dismissing him as just another local eccentric, but as he left, a chill crept down my spine. I glanced toward the window, the night outside obscured by a thick fog that twisted like fingers reaching for something lost. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the store grew eerily quiet. My phone buzzed. A message from Jenna, my ex-coworker, flashed on the screen. "Stay safe, don't close early." The ominous tone of her message unsettled me. I had always brushed off her warnings, but something about the way she wrote it sent a tremor of fear through me. Around 1 a.m., a loud crash echoed from the back storage room. My heart raced as I grabbed the flashlight from under the counter. The thin beam cut through the darkness, revealing aisles of snacks and drinks. I approached the door to the storage room and hesitated, the memories of eerie stories flooding my mind. They whispered about a man who had gone missing in these very halls, last seen around this time, his screams swallowed by the silence. I pushed the door open, the hinges creaking like a skeletal laugh. The storage room was filled with shadows and crates stacked haphazardly. I called out, "Is anyone in here?" Silence enveloped me, thick and suffocating. I stepped further in, the beam of light revealing nothing but dust and cobwebs. Just as I turned to leave, a low growl emerged from the dark corner of the room. My blood ran cold. Hello? I tried to keep my voice steady. The growl morphed into a low, mocking laugh. I stumbled back, my mind racing. The stories of the creature that roamed these woods flashed before me. Twisted, gnarled limbs, eyes that glowed with a hunger for something more than just flesh. I sprinted back to the counter, locking the door behind me. As I leaned against the counter, trying to steady my breath, the soft tinkling of the bell above the door jolted me. I looked up to see a figure standing at the entrance, cloaked in darkness. "Help me!" the figure rasped, voice cracking like dry leaves. I squinted, trying to make out the features. It was a woman, her face pale and gaunt, eyes sunken and wild. "What happened?" My voice trembled. "It's coming," she whispered. "The thing from the woods. It's hungry." Panic surged through me, the creature's growl echoing in my mind. "You have to let me in," she pleaded, her hands pressed against the glass. I hesitated, torn between the instinct to help and the primal urge to run. Before I could decide, the lights flickered again, plunging the store into darkness. I fumbled for the flashlight, but it slipped from my grasp, rolling away. The growl grew louder, reverberating in the silence, and I felt the air grow heavier. The door shook violently as the woman screamed, "Let me in!" I lunged, fumbling with the lock, but a shadow loomed behind her, a silhouette that twisted and shifted unnaturally. "No!" I shouted, throwing the door open just as a gnarled hand reached for her. She stumbled inside, but the moment she crossed the threshold, the growl transformed into a chorus of laughter, echoing through the store. The door slammed shut behind her, and I turned to see the figure that had been pursuing her. It was a grotesque mockery of humanity, skin stretched taut over skeletal features, its hollow eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. The lights flickered back to life, revealing the creature's grotesque form. My heart raced as I backed away, my mind racing for how to escape. The woman stood frozen, her face twisted in terror, an echo of madness reflecting in her gaze. "It wants to take us," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Run!" I shouted, turning to grab a broom from behind the counter. I swung it wildly as the creature lunged, its laughter ringing in my ears. The broom connected with its side, and it stumbled back. In that moment, I grabbed the woman's hand. "We need to get out!" But in the chaos, the store seemed to shift, the aisles warping and bending, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling around us. The laughter grew louder, mingling with whispers of despair. "You can't escape," it taunted, as the walls closed in, pressing against us. We dashed toward the front, but just as I thought we could escape, the windows shattered, shards of glass raining down. "No!" I screamed, dragging the woman with me as I made it to the back exit. The cold night air hit us like a slap. But freedom was brief. The creature's howl echoed behind us, a promise that it would never let us leave. As we stumbled into the parking lot, I glanced back at the store, the lights flickering as if in a heartbeat of agony. The figure stood in the doorway, its form shifting and pulsating. I could feel the woman's grip tighten around my arm, but I was already racing toward my car, desperate to escape the horror that lingered just a breath away. We drove away, the creature's laughter still ringing in my ears, a haunting reminder that some nightmares refuse to fade. And even as the dawn broke, casting light on the world, I knew that Halloween was only just beginning, and that thing in the woods had not finished with us yet. Have you ever had an encounter that sent chills down your spine? I'd love to hear your spine-tingling stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this eerie tale, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more haunting adventures. Who knows what sinister surprises await in our next video? Until then, stay safe and keep the lights on, just in case.